To estimate the amount of 12 American wire gauge wire needed for wiring a 3,000 square foot house, several factors need to be considered, including the number of circuits, the length of branch circuits, and the length of the main feeder and any sub-panel feeders. It's also important to note that the National Electrical Code, or NEC, recommends 100 square feet per 12 American wire gauge circuit, or approximately 12 outlets. Firstly, determine the number of circuits you will need. For a 3,000 square foot house, you will likely need approximately 30 circuits based on the NEC recommendation. Secondly, calculate the length of the branch circuits. Assume an average of 100 feet per circuit for branch circuits, which is the wiring running from the panel to the outlets. For 30 circuits, this would be 30 circuits multiplied by 100 feet per circuit, equaling 3,000 feet. Thirdly, calculate the length of the main feeder. The main feeder is the wire that runs from the utility meter to the main electrical panel. Assume a distance of 50 feet from the meter to the panel. This 50 feet needs to be doubled to account for both the hot and neutral legs, resulting in 100 feet. Fourthly, calculate the length of any sub-panel feeders, if applicable. If there are any sub-panels, calculate the distance from the main panel to each sub-panel. For example, if there is a sub-panel 100 feet away from the main panel, this 100 feet needs to be doubled for the hot and neutral legs, resulting in 200 feet. Fifthly, calculate the total wire length. To do this, add the lengths of the branch circuits, the main feeder, and any sub-panel feeders. In this example, the branch circuits are 3,000 feet, the main feeder is 100 feet, and the sub-panel feeders are 200 feet. The total is 3,300 feet, plus any additional wire needed for junctions or other unforeseen situations. Keep in mind that this is just an estimation and the actual amount of wire required may vary depending on the specific layout of the house, the number of outlets, and other factors. It is always a good idea to have extra wire on hand to account for any unforeseen situations. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it's crucial to follow all safety precautions and local codes. If you are not comfortable performing electrical work yourself, it's always best to hire a qualified electrician. When estimating wire lengths for electrical circuits, it's essential to consider several factors to ensure you have enough wire for the entire project. The first factor is the circuit layout. The layout of the circuits in the house greatly impacts the total wire length needed. A complex layout with many turns and branches will require more wire than a simple, straightforward layout. It's important to account for the actual path the wire will take through the walls, ceilings, and floors. The second factor is outlet and switch locations. The number and placement of outlets, switches, and other electrical devices affect wire length. Each device needs enough wire to make connections, so the more devices there are, the more wire you will need. The third factor is the panel location. The distance from the electrical panel to the farthest outlet or device is a critical factor. Longer distances naturally require more wire. If the panel is centrally located, the overall wire length may be less compared to a panel located on one side of the house. The fourth factor is spare wire. Always add extra wire to each circuit to allow for connections, adjustments, and future modifications. A good rule of thumb is to add at least 10 to 15 feet of extra wire per circuit. This extra wire can be coiled in junction boxes or at the panel. The fifth factor is wire gauge. The wire gauge affects how the wire is run and handled. Thicker gauges, like 12 American wire gauge, can be stiffer and may require more space for bends and turns, potentially increasing the overall wire length. The sixth factor is code requirements. Adhere to all local electrical codes and the NEC. These codes often dictate how wires should be run, the types of connections required, and other factors that can influence wire length. The seventh factor is future expansion. Consider potential future additions or modifications to the electrical system. Running extra wire to key locations during the initial wiring can save time and effort later on. The eighth factor is voltage drop. For long circuit runs, voltage drop can become a concern. To mitigate voltage drop, you might need to use a larger wire gauge, which can impact the overall cost and amount of wire needed. The ninth factor is the type of wiring method used. Different wiring methods, such as Romex or conduit, can affect wire length. Conduit installations often require more wire due to the need for bends and connections. The 10th factor is the number of storers in the house. Multi-story homes often require more wire due to the vertical runs between floors. Each floor needs its own set of circuits, and wire must be run between floors to connect these circuits to the main electrical panel. To accurately estimate wire length, start by creating a detailed floor plan that shows the location of all outlets, switches, lights, and other electrical devices. Then mark the path of each circuit on the floor plan, taking into account walls, ceilings, and floors. Use a measuring tool to estimate the length of each circuit run. Don't forget to add extra wire for connections, adjustments, and future modifications. Once you have estimated the length of each circuit run, add them all together to get the total wire length needed for the project. It's always a good idea to order a little extra wire to account for any unforeseen issues or changes. When calculating the wire needed for a subpanel, consider the distance from the main panel to the subpanel. This distance needs to be doubled to account for the hot, neutral, and ground wires. For example, if the subpanel is 50 feet away from the main panel, you'll need 150 feet of wire for the feeder. The size of the subpanel and the number of circuits it will serve will also affect the wire gauge and the amount of wire needed. Larger subpanels with more circuits require thicker wire gauges to handle the increased load. Consider the location of the main panel and the subpanel. If the subpanel is located in a detached garage or shed, you'll need to use underground rated wire. Also, make sure to follow all local electrical codes and NEC requirements when installing a subpanel. These codes will specify the type and size of wire needed, as well as the proper installation methods. The NEC provides tables and guidelines for determining the appropriate wire size based on the amperage and distance of the circuit. For example, NEC Table 310.15. B16 provides ampacity ratings for different wire sizes based on insulation type and ambient temperature. It's also important to consider voltage drop when sizing wires for long runs. Voltage drop occurs when the voltage at the end of a circuit is lower than the voltage at the source due to the resistance of the wire. Excessive voltage drop can cause lights to dim, motors to run inefficiently, and other electrical problems. The NEC recommends limiting voltage drop to 3% for branch circuits and 5% for feeders. To calculate voltage drop, use the following formula: voltage drop equals 2 multiplied by the length of the conductor in feet multiplied by the current in amps multiplied by the resistance per foot of the conductor divided by 1000. If the calculated voltage drop exceeds the recommended limits, you'll need to increase the wire size to reduce the resistance. The NEC provides tables and formulas for calculating voltage drop. These calculations are crucial for ensuring the safety and efficiency of the electrical system. The type of wire used also affects the overall wire length needed. Non-metallic sheath cable, also known as Romex, is commonly used for residential wiring. It consists of 2 or more insulated conductors wrapped in a plastic jacket. The jacket provides protection against physical damage and moisture. Conduit is another type of wiring method that involves running wires through metal or plastic pipes. Conduit provides excellent protection against physical damage and moisture and is often required in commercial and industrial settings. The type of wire used can affect the ease of installation and the amount of wire needed. Romex is generally easier to install than conduit, but it may not be suitable for all applications. When running wires through walls, ceilings, and floors, it's important to follow the NEC guidelines for support and protection. Wires must be supported at regular intervals to prevent sagging and damage. The NEC specifies the maximum spacing between supports for different types of wiring. Wires must also be protected from physical damage by using conduit or other protective measures. When running wires through studs or joists, they must be protected by steel plates or other means to prevent them from being punctured by nails or screws. The NEC also specifies the minimum distance between wires and other objects, such as pipes and ducts. These clearances are important for preventing overheating and electrical hazards. When making connections, it's important to use the proper connectors and techniques. Wire connectors must be rated for the size and type of wire being used. They must also be installed properly to ensure a secure and reliable connection. The NEC specifies the types of connectors that are allowed for different applications. When splicing wires, it's important to use a listed splicing device or method. Wire nuts are commonly used for splicing wires, but they must be installed properly to ensure a secure connection. The NEC also allows the use of crimp connectors and other types of splicing devices. Grounding is an essential part of electrical safety. The grounding system provides a path for fault current to flow back to the source, tripping a circuit breaker or fuse and preventing electrical shock. The grounding system must be properly installed and maintained to ensure its effectiveness. The NEC specifies the requirements for grounding electrodes, grounding conductors, and bonding. Grounding electrodes, such as ground rods or metal water pipes, must be installed to provide a connection to the earth. Grounding conductors must be run from the grounding electrodes to the electrical panel and other equipment. Bonding is the process of connecting metal parts of the electrical system together to create a low impedance path for fault current. Bonding is required for metal conduit, metal enclosures, and other metal parts of the electrical system. Electrical safety is paramount when working with electricity. Always turn off the power to the circuit before working on it. Use insulated tools and wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as safety glasses and gloves. Never work on electrical equipment in wet or damp conditions. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, hire a qualified electrician. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it's important to take all necessary precautions to protect yourself and others. Remember that local codes and regulations may vary, so it's always a good idea to check with your local building department or electrical inspector before starting any electrical work. They can provide guidance on the specific requirements in your area and help ensure that your electrical system is safe and compliant. By following these guidelines and taking the necessary precautions, you can estimate the wire length needed for your electrical project and ensure that it is safe and efficient. Remember to always prioritize safety and consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns. When planning for electrical wiring, remember that there are different types of circuits to consider. General lighting circuits typically use 15 amp breakers and 14 American wire gauge wire, but since your area requires 12 American wire gauge, that's what you will use. These circuits power most of the light and general use outlets in the house. Small appliance circuits are dedicated to kitchen appliances like toasters and microwaves. They typically use 20 amp breakers and 12 American wire gauge wire. These circuits prevent overloading when multiple appliances are used simultaneously. Individual appliance circuits are for high-power appliances like refrigerators, ovens, and washing machines. These circuits have their own dedicated breakers and wiring, often 20 amp or higher, and use appropriately sized wire, like 12 American wire gauge or larger, depending on the appliance's requirements. Bathroom circuits often require ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, protection. GFCI outlets and breakers protect against electrical shock in wet areas. These circuits typically use 20 amp breakers and 12 American wire gauge wire. Outdoor circuits also require GFCI protection. These circuits power outdoor outlets, lights, and equipment. They typically use 15 or 20 amp breakers and 12 American wire gauge wire. When running wires, it's important to avoid overloading circuits. Each circuit has a maximum capacity, and exceeding this capacity can cause the breaker to trip or, in severe cases, start a fire. To avoid overloading circuits, distribute the load evenly across different circuits. Avoid plugging too many high-powered devices into the same circuit. Use a circuit tester to check the load on each circuit. When installing outlets and switches, make sure to follow the NEC guidelines for spacing and placement. Outlets should be placed within 12 feet of each other along walls. Switches should be placed near doors and entryways for easy access. Use the proper wiring techniques when connecting outlets and switches. Make sure to tighten all connections securely and avoid leaving any exposed wires. Label each circuit breaker in the electrical panel with the corresponding circuit it controls. This makes it easier to identify and troubleshoot circuits in the future. Use a permanent marker or label maker to create clear and accurate labels. Keep the electrical panel accessible and free from obstructions. The NEC requires a minimum of 3 feet of clearance in front of the electrical panel. Do not store anything in front of the panel that could block access to it. Regularly inspect the electrical system for any signs of damage or wear. Look for frayed wires, cracked outlets, and loose connections. If you find any problems, have them repaired by a qualified electrician. Consider using energy-efficient lighting and appliances to reduce energy consumption and save money. LED lights use significantly less energy than incandescent bulbs. Energy Star appliances are designed to use less energy than standard appliances. When replacing old appliances, look for Energy Star models to save energy and money. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous. Always follow safety precautions and local codes. If you are not comfortable performing electrical work yourself, hire a qualified electrician. The key to estimating wire length effectively is to be methodical and thorough. Start with a detailed plan, account for all the factors that can influence wire length, and always add extra wire for unforeseen issues. This approach will help ensure that you have enough wire for the project and that the electrical system is safe and compliant. Additionally, remember to consult with local building codes and authorities to ensure full compliance with all applicable regulations. These codes are in place to protect the safety of your home and its occupants, and adhering to them is crucial.